new report highlights a major loophole in the current sanctions against Russian oil that has seen the EU, Australia, and G7 countries indirectly import the Kremlin's products. According to the Center for Research on Energy and Clean Air, these nations are importing high volumes of oil products from countries that purchase Russian crude oil and other oil products, which in turn can undermine the full impact of sanctions against Russia. The report highlights an 80% rise in imports from China, Turkey, the UAE, Singapore, and India the year following Russia's invasion compared to the previous year. All 5 countries have increased their purchases of Russian oil, and CREA says they are laundering these products to price cap coalition countries. Well, joining us now to give us more insight into this report is Mr. Lauri Myllyvirta with the Center for Research on Energy and Clean Air. Sir, welcome to Forum Daily.
Thank you so much. Good evening.
Good evening. Quite the eye-opening report here. What would you say are the main takeaways for our viewers?
The main takeaway is that there is a loophole in the sanctions. It's entirely legal for countries that have banned the direct import of Russian crude oil and oil products to purchase products refined from crude oil in third countries. And this has meant that in the year following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, more than $40 billion worth of these products moved from the countries that are the main refiners of Russian crude oil for export to the price cap coalition.
And can you walk us through this process in which Russian oil is laundered to other nations?
China, India, Turkey, above all, have become the main importers of Russian crude oil. They have refineries that purchase the oil, produce products such as diesel, jet fuel, gasoline out of that product and out of that crude oil, and then ship that product, of course, to their own home markets, but also around the world. And there has been an increase specifically to those countries that have banned the imports of Russian crude oil.
And as you mentioned, this is an entirely legal process. What do we know so far about the countries or the countries that import the majority of these of this laundered oil?
The largest destination has been the European Union, and the most striking increase into the European Union came from China, which is a very long route across the world. That was followed by the United States and Australia. Canada is also an importer. There has been especially jet fuel and gasoline from China, India, Turkey coming into Canada.
Concerning to hear Canada's impact in this. Now, considering this loophole, just how effective have price cap coalition sanctions been on Russian oil exports since they took effect?
The impact over the past few months has, since the EU banned oil imports from Russia, has still been very significant. Russia's revenues, the amount of money that it's able to make, has fallen significantly, and it's having an effect because Russia's fiscal revenues have increased because of the invasion, and other sources of revenue, other sources of tax revenue have contracted because of the impact of the sanctions and the impact of the war itself on the Russian economy. So it's clear that we are able to have an impact at the moment. The concern, though, is that in the recent couple of months, there has been a distinct lack of progress from Ukraine's allies in strengthening these sanctions. So there's a concern that Russia's revenues might well rebound as the country finds new ways to work around these sanctions, strengthen its taxation, and so on.
All right, just a quick 30 seconds left here, but if you could leave us with just 1 or 2 steps that coalition cap countries can take to address this issue, what would they be?
One of them is, of course, addressing our oil dependence overall. The reason that it's so hard has been so hard to completely break these flows is how dependent we still are on oil. And the other one is to impose a price cap or restrictions on imports from refineries that purchase Russian crude oil
All right.
wherever in the world they're located.